So I'll tell you what the tool rules are to figure out if it's an I stem. Rule number 1 is if the nominative ends in either IS or ES and the nominative and genitive have the same number of syllables. Examples: kiwis, I stem; nawis, hostess, westis. Those are some classic examples. They end in IS and they have the same number of syllables, because they're exactly the same. But that's the rule. And those are the common ones I use. I'm trying to think of one I use instead of that one, but those are pretty common. The second rule is if the base stem is, I won't use monosyllabic on you guys, has one syllable, or if you want to be fancy, is monosyllabic, meaning one syllable, and ends in 2 consonants. And this would be mons, montis. Its stem is mont. One syllable, mont. Ends in 2 consonants. Another rule that I think you know, pons, pontus, same thing. Pont. So that would also be an I stem. Again, monosyllabic base ends in 2 consonants. So those, again, I don't care if you know these rules, you just have to be able to identify the I stems. So whatever is easier for you, knowing the rules or being able to recognize I stems. And you can kind of see I stems, they kind of look a certain way, and sometimes you may not be able to explain it, and I'm not going to ask you to, but you know an I stem when you see it. And so if you're just at that understanding where you just know an I stem when you see it, that's fine. So now we're going to go into how these I stems decline. How these I stems decline. And again, they're almost exactly the same. So the way that these I stems decline. So we'll take kiwis, then it's the same, kiwi, kiwem, and then it's kiwei. Most commonly for the masculine and feminine, for the ablative singular, you will see an E here. Occasionally, it could also be an I. So don't be freaked out if you see that I there. And it's very common with ship, nawis. It will have an I for the ablative singular, not an E. So you'll see that. So hopefully you don't flip out there.
Wait, could you do both ways? Or?
You can do both ways. I'll accept both ways. There are some nouns that use it more than others, but I don't expect you to know that. Just as long as you see it. when you're looking at an I stem and you see an ablative singular, or you see an I, you think that it could also be ablative singular in your mind. That you can also put it there. I don't care. I usually give you credit if you put an E or an I when you decline. You have QS, ES, and now this is the big thing that defines an I stem, the genitive plural. All I stems are IUM for the genitive plural. This is what makes it an I stem. It's right here. And then we have QEBOOS, QAs, QEBOOS. As you go through. And so that's how I stems decline. The only real difference for the masculine and feminine is the genitive singular is IUM. Oh, also occasionally too in the accusative plural, you can see an IS here too. If you decline, it doesn't matter, but if you see it, especially with novice, that's fine. Yes?
Do you see QEBOOS in the sentence or something?
Yes.
How would you know?
If you see things like QEBOOS, how do you know if it's dative or ablative in a sentence?
Oh, just sort of
By context. Yeah. There's no way to, if I just told you QEBOOS and I asked you what case is it, you would say it could be either dative or ablative. There's no way of telling unless you have context.
Okay.
So, are we good? Next to the third flavor, the neuter. And so I'll go with flumen. So flumen, fluminous. And so flumen, fluminous. So we start with flumen, right? And neuter. And also a trick when I tell you to decline, and I give you flumen, fluminous, I've already given you 2 out of the 10. Nominative singular, genitive singular. So I've already given you the first 2. Now, there's a couple tricky things here. So I go to the dative, and it's flumen E. And remember what I told you about the neuter law? What's the neuter law? That the accusative is always the same as nominative, so what's the accusative? Flumen. It's exactly the same. Flumen. Now, this is where I trip up Latin 2 students, or they trip up themselves. Is I changed my stem. When I went because of the neuter law, I switched my stem. Flumen is not my stem. Flumen with an I is my stem. So I need to change it back here. So it goes back to flumen, and it's going to be E. Flumen. So that I comes back here. Often students forget to change the stem back when that ablative singular. And so, common mistake. So don't get tripped up here.
Wait, why is the E?
Ablative singular.
Oh, right. I was looking at the... Okay.
So, ablative singular. Now, I go to my neuter plural. What was the ending for the neuter plural in the second declension? A. And it's going to be A here as well. And then it's going to be genitive plural, flumibus. And then the neuter law, again, flumina, nominative and accusative the same. And then flumenibus. So again, the neuter is almost exactly the same as the masculine and feminine, except for your nominatives and your accusatives. Will be different. So remember in the third declension, there is no distinctive nominative singular. there is no singular ending. We have N's, we have X's, we have S's, we have ES's, we have QS's, we have everything through there as we go through. And then the last, any questions on this? The last is the third neuter I stem. And I'll give you good news. There's rules for this, but you guys only know one third declension neuter I stem. And so if I'm going to ask you what a third declension neuter I stem is, there's only one word I can give you. And that's mare. Mare. This is the only one you guys know. There's not that many. And the rule is for the neuters, if it ends in E or ends in AL or AR, it's an I stem. And we only know one. The other one I use occasionally is animal. Animalis is also an I stem. But on tests, CPs, and quizzes, I usually just throw you mare. Because it's the only one you know. And so we go mare, maris, mari, neuter law, same, mare, nominative and accusative, always the same, neuter law. Here's another one. The ablative singular for the neuter I stems is always I. Is always I. Is always I. And then the nominative plural is not just A, it's IA. And then, remember what makes it an I stem is its genitive plural. It's marium, mariibus, neuter law, nominative same as accusative, maria, and then mariibus. As we go through. So any questions on this?